Hey folks, we're going to do a little review first of some of the terms that you've seen in your reading, and then we're going to take this to the next step. So this is all about genetics, the study of how traits are passed from parents to their children or from organisms to their offspring. First off, DNA. So DNA is something I think we're familiar with at this point. We've got try and get that adjusted right. There we go. So our DNA is this very, very long chain molecule that we have lots and lots of inside our cells, and it just is a way to store information. So it stores instructions, just like you would read an instruction manual, say if you were going to build a Lego thing. So you get instructions on how to build the Legos. Your DNA is instructions on how to build you. Now DNA comes in big pieces, big chunks, and so that's where we get to chromosomes. So it's just a bundle of DNA. So a big chunk of DNA. And it turns out that for people, we have 46 chromosomes inside our bodies, inside of our cells. Each cell has 46 chromosomes in it. And they come in pairs. So if you have a chromosome that looks like this, you're going to have another chromosome that looks like this. And if you have a chromosome that kind of looks like this, you'll see another chromosome that kind of looks like that. So they come in pairs, and there's 23 of those all together. So 23 pairs of chromosomes. And your chromosomes come from your mom and dad. And so we get some of them from mom. See, these ones come from mom. And then some come from dad. One from each pair comes from mom, and the other one in the pair comes from dad. And so all these chromosomes determine, or they make up what you're going to look like, or how different parts of your body are going to be built. And that comes from both your mom and your dad. It's not one or the other. So we'll have to look at that combination of those two. All right, next up we get to trait. So this is just something about you that can be passed on through your DNA. So if you, say, learn to play basketball really well, knowing how to play basketball isn't a trait. It's not a genetic trait, because knowing how to play basketball doesn't go on your DNA. So if you know how to play basketball really well, your kids don't come out knowing how to play basketball really well. But if you have brown hair or blonde hair or red hair, that comes from your DNA. And your kids are likely to have brown hair or blonde hair or red hair similar to their mom or to their dad, because that gets passed on through your DNA. Now, each one of those traits comes from one little part, or maybe just a couple little parts on your DNA. And so those little parts on your DNA we call the genes, the part of your DNA that makes you have one trait or another. So for that, maybe this little section and this little section together, maybe those control, say, eye color. And so those little sections are the genes for eye color. And you get one from mom and you get one from dad here. So one gene from mom, one gene from dad. And those two together are going to determine your eye color. Now your genotype is going to be what your DNA looks like, both from mom and from dad. And that determines what your eye color is going to be, which is your phenotype. That's what you look like. So here it's what your DNA looks like, and phenotype is what you look like. So what your DNA looks like and what you look like. Okay, so my DNA looks like this pattern of A's and T's and C's and G's, just these different molecules. But I don't look like a bunch of molecules. I look like a person with eyes, and I have blue eyes, and so my phenotype would be blue eyes. Now, I also have other traits, so I could talk about my phenotype for other traits. So another trait is hair color. I have brown hair. So hair color is a trait. My phenotype for that trait is brown hair. So the trait is just any different possibility there. You could have brown hair, you could have blonde hair, you could have red hair, you could have black hair, you could have all these different hair color types. And then your phenotype is which hair color you have. Other traits, we could have height, and then your phenotype, the height, you could be really tall, you could be really short, and anywhere in between. And then your phenotype is how tall are you. So my phenotype for height is I am 6 feet tall. It's a little taller than average. So all these things we've seen in some form before. Now we're going to advance to the next stage here.